Hello, BookTube. We have some mail to go through today. There's mail almost every day. I'm going to try to remember to open it on camera so that we can get back into having fun that way. Of course, there was no mail here yesterday. Yesterday was a federal holiday. It was, well, I automatically want to say it was Columbus Day, but it's been renamed Your Grandparents Were Horrible People Day. So there was no mail delivery. There was almost no activity in the city at all. But it's back to normal today. So we have a few periodicals and then a few packages. Certainly enough to make a nice 5-minute video. An 8-minute video, just long enough for me to achieve monetization. So the first thing that we have is the Bedford Times Press in Bedford, Iowa. A little local newspaper. This one has the king and queen of the prom, the homecoming king and queen there on the cover. There they are in their crown and tiara. Isn't that wonderful? But this is a local Iowa paper, and that would be fine for me, but I like it even more because in addition to all the local content, it also has content that is not local at all. That is my column. I write a book column every week, and it's just about bookish stuff. It's not about local bookish stuff. It's just bookish stuff. So if you have a local newspaper, local library bulletin, whatever the venue, and it could use some livening up, a little stuff to talk about, a little stuff to think about, feel free to sing out in the comments field or send me an email. I assure you my rates are reasonable. How does this one open? I recently went through a spasm of wonderful obsession over one of the many bookish subjects that occupies so much of my attention, and it was partly spurred by a conversation with an old friend about, of all things, Fairy Tale, the new novel by Stephen King. This old friend has been an ardent King fan for 40 years. He's read all the books, seen all the film adaptations, gone to events, even shelled out some serious money for autographed or collectible items. Many times over the years I've told him, with all that experience, you must be an enormous trove of information about King and his works. Why don't you write an essay or a bunch of reviews? And he'd always give me the same answer, because I'm a reader, not a writer. And I go on from there. I would be happy to see this running in your own local rag. Then we go from the Bedford Times Press to the Times Literary Supplement, the London Times Literary Supplement, the TLS, the greatest English language literary review in the world. This one was put in the mail slot this way. It was folded this way instead of in the middle. Someone looked at this, and instead of folding it like that, they folded it like this. Obviously a transphobe. And as I predicted, one of the things that you look for in the TLS is to see whether or not topics get continued in the letters page. Somebody will write a letter in, and if the topic is a non-starter, it will just die. But if it isn't, if people find it, if they won't let it go, then it can continue in the letters page. And sure enough, I called it. I predicted it. The subject of Queen Elizabeth II and her reading, how much reading she does, was one of the many enjoyable letters in this issue. I thought I'd read it to you just to keep you up to date. This letter is from Fife. Alan Taylor has trouble accepting that James Joyce was Queen Elizabeth's favorite author, as reported by Rory Johnston. I have trouble with it too. Mr. Taylor immediately jumps to the conclusion that she would not possibly have read Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake, leaving aside the assumption that the Queen was unlikely to have embroiled herself in literary claims that could easily have ended in embarrassment. There is no possible way that could have happened. You do not contradict the Queen. Even if she's dead wrong, you don't do it. It could not possibly have led to embarrassment. I suggest that she would have thoroughly enjoyed Dubliners, a collection that contains some of Joyce's finest writing. She would certainly have enjoyed Dubliners, but she didn't like it, she didn't read it, she didn't know it. This is all just a fantasy. There was a slightly more disturbing letter, this one from L.A., about the TLS, for reasons passing understanding, did a long review by Michael Wolff, who's an excellent reviewer, of Jared Kushner's book, which they shouldn't have done. Simply objectively speaking, they shouldn't have done it. The book was bought and paid for by a terrified underling, so it's not a reflection of Jared Kushner. It had no memorable prose at all. It's completely workmanlike prose written terrified under the lash of a deadline by an underling who is not credited. And It's full of lies. It's not worth giving that attention to. You elevate the book to do that. It was a bad, not Michael Wolff. I'm not saying Michael Wolff here. I'm saying on the TLS's part, it was a bad, corrupt editorial decision. It should not have gone that way. And someone writes in from LA, Michael Wolff's wonderful review of Jared Kushner's memoir says that everyone hated Jared. But what about Ivanka? She's not mentioned in the piece, but she's an important figure in the book. Her father had wanted her to marry the American football star Tom Brady. Instead, she picked the son of a New Jersey real estate mogul who had gone to prison for his crimes. That was something her own father had always managed to avoid, something that's made Jared's father a loser. But that loser insisted that Ivanka convert to Judaism before marrying his son. As Jared recounts in his book, Trump objected, asking, why does she have to convert? Why can't you convert? Marrying Ivanka was a triumph and the first step in what Wolff calls Jared's astonishing ascent. I'm hoping that this isn't one of the threads that continues in the letters page because I don't want to be talking about these pieces of dirt for the rest of time. There is a reason why Jared Kushner's father's demand that Ivanka convert to Judaism when they marry was adhered to instead of ignored. There's a reason for that. Now, think about what the reasons could be. That she loved Jared. She certainly did not. She is as fully sociopathic as her father. She is completely incapable of love. So let's rule that right out. Also, the strong ethical convictions of Jared Kushner's father. That any daughter-in-law of mine must convert to Judaism. The man he wasn't a loser because he went to jail. He was a loser who went to jail. He was a loser beforehand. I think we can rule that out too. It was Jared Kushner's decision. It was his wish. Now you might ask, if it was his wish and he goes up against the famously stubborn Donald Trump, who says, why don't you convert? Why did Donald Trump accede? One answer might be because he cared about the well-being and the peace of his daughter and his son-in-law. He didn't want to cause trouble in their marriage. I think we can completely rule that out. If you think about the worst possible motivation for why Donald Trump would have given in on this point or any other point, what's the worst possible motivation? Not just for that, but for why Jared Kushner would have been a special counselor to Donald Trump in the White House, even after the press related that he was much smarter than Donald Trump, that he was much more effective than Donald Trump, that he was a much better planner than Donald Trump. When you get that kind of press in Donald Trump's orbit, you get the boot. Kushner was never sacked from his job. In fact, Trump went to bat for him to get him a security clearance when he absolutely would have been denied one otherwise. He is a paid operative of the Saudi royal family. He would certainly have been denied a security clearance if it had been just any other place, any other person. So why then did he not get the boot? And why did Donald Trump agree? What's the worst possible reason you can think of? Because when it comes to Trump, the worst possible reason will always be true. Did you get it? It takes just a second. Jared Kushner has something on Donald Trump, which is why his condition for Ivanka to convert, not that it matters, they're both atheists, but it's why his condition for her to convert was met, and it's also why he was in the White House and never given the boot. He has something on Donald Trump. But there was one other letter that kind of epitomizes the snarkiness of the TLS letters page. If David Lehman does claim that Humphrey Bogart's Marlowe even quotes Shakespeare at the end of The Maltese Falcon, as Lois Potter suggests, then he's inaccurate in two respects. The movie's detective is not Raymond Chandler's celebrated Seamus, but Dashiell Hammett's Sam Spade. And when he says in the film's final line that the coveted bird is the stuff that dreams are made of, he is misquoting Prospero's observation in The Tempest. Yeah. So the TLS brings out the joylessness in quite a few people. See this? It's folding naturally this way. It's so disgusting. It's so unnatural. And then the last periodical was, I know a lot of you are going to be happy about this, it was a house magazine. House architectural decor magazines. For some reason, my going through them seems to please you all inordinately. I don't know why that is. But for some reason, I subscribe to House Beautiful. So I got the latest House Beautiful, so we could just go through this. It starts with the same thing that all these square-bound glossy magazines start with. It starts with the first half of the magazine is high-priced ads. Just that's what they basically amount to. They amount to big, full-color, lavish advertisements for all kinds of things. So you've got build a quality home. So every item on there, all that hideous stuff is all for sale. It's only until you get to the back half of the magazine that you get house profiles of people's homes. And those can vary from the horrifying to the merely dismaying. That is true here. See, this is more of the ads. If you want your kitchen to look like that, why on earth you would? But if you want your kitchen to look like that, well, you know where to go for a consultation fee and then installation of a brutalist marble countertop in a kitchen that looks like the kind of countertop where you lean on this end, someone else leans on this end, you look them in the eye and you say, sooner or later, you will tell me what you've done with my wife. Why would you want home decor like that? I have no idea. Although this was pretty tempting. Put a hot tub spa of that size in your backyard. Oh my. Oh, that is pretty tempting. Except that I wouldn't want to use it because in order to get to it or from it, the neighbors would have to see the crown jewels. Why would you put on a free show like that? I don't know. But we can get through all of these ads and get to the back. Yes, a Canadian design duo transplants the Arizona landscape into a soothing retreat. How much do you want to make a bet that the house they create in the Arizona desert is not, in fact, soothing? How much do you want to make a bet on that? This is the house. It is horrifying. That's track lighting up at the top there. It's designed to make the thing look like a museum in off hours, not like a home. This is the living room. Look at that. That is the living room. That you get a very scenic view of the burning landscape outside. The burning landscape is also visible out the window of the bedroom. In order for this house to exist, this is the kitchen in this house. There is no naturally occurring water within 250 miles of this house in any direction, including straight down. So you can just imagine the footprint that this house is creating in order to be where no house should be. Lizards find it hard to live in these circumstances. But you've got a big house here. It does have some nice details, but would you want to live there knowing that every Dixie cup of water that you drink has to be flown in? But then we have a 19th century Virginia home. You have to admit, that is a nice staircase. This space is wasted. I'd be willing to bet this is a little alcove. You could turn that into a reading nook at the bottom of the stairs. It would be quite nice. But that's very nice. That the arch and that this is ridiculous. This wallpaper is ridiculous. But there's a nice little accent piece. That little brass dog, the clock dog thing there is kind of nice. This Virginia home, like most of the homes in these magazines, is surgically devoid of books. There are no books anywhere. There's one exception in this issue, but usually not. Then we have the living room. There is the living room. It is, I admit, nice and airy. I really do like the arches on all of the features in the house. There's an arch in the kitchen over the stove. The doorways are all arches instead of just squares. But you don't want a living room like this, right? It's not very hospitable. Look at that furniture. And a glass tabletop for the coffee table. Your yardstick for whether or not your living room is inviting should be, is it inviting to me and Deb? Deb and I are big, fat, ungainly, sweaty old people. We crack glass coffee tables. We shatter the legs on chairs like that. We ruin this entire space. We would ruin it just by trying to use it. This coffee table smashed to smithereens, knocked over. This glass-topped coffee table shattered into tiny pieces and then ground into your flesh. We ruin places like this, but you want us to be there. We may be old and fat and sweaty and disheveled, but we are fantastic. If your living room is not hospitable to us, then it's not hospitable. What you want is a living room that is battered and lived in and comfortable enough so that you can settle us on our cushions and provide us with, in Deb's case, a can of cold beer. In my case, an actual rain barrel full of cheap red wine. If you can't do that, then what's the point of having a living room at all? uh, but then we move on to London Pitas. I think this is an example of no. There's another one that's coming up. This is a pretty bad example. This is a tiny little London space that could have been lovely. That's a kind of a theme that runs through this issue, is that you see so many might have beens. That happens in a lot of these issues. This is a tiny little London pied-à-terre. There is the tiny little living room. Just ugly. Just as ugly as could be. First of all, given this is the fireplace with whatever that is on top of it, I have no idea. The fires of hell. Whatever this is, instead of a table that you can pile books and magazines on. Whatever this is, instead of a chair. Whatever this is, instead of a fireplace. Wrong decisions every single step of the way. The foremost and most oppressive wrong decision of which is the wallpaper or the painting, whichever that is. I guarantee you I know how small this space is. I don't think I read the dimensions, but this is a small space, which means it should be a darker wall cover. You don't want to fight against that. If you can reach out your arms and touch either wall on either side, then you're not going to fight with the perception of space. So you want to lean into it, make it into a den, a beautifully comfortable den. Instead, you've got this. What on earth? So if you're perched on one of these ugly chair stools, you might be able to look out the window, but from the couch you can't, unless you're willing to, crick your neck. What is this? What is that? Is that a master bed or a goldfish tank? It's so ugly. All of this is just so ugly, and it doesn't need to be. The space, I'm sure, if it's a London pied-à-terre, I'm sure that the space will work wonders. It will try hard to meet you halfway. But if that's a parade of missed opportunities, then what is this? This is, where is this? This is in New York City, and it is a converted ballroom. So it's a living space that was made out of an old style ballroom, the type of thing where a century ago, ballerina hopefuls, girls with their mothers in their flat, sensible black shoes and their huge minks, would have trocked up the stairs all the way around with a mother nagging the whole time till they get to the top, and that's where the lesson is. This couple took this space. It'd have been more aesthetically pleasing if they'd just left it a ballroom. Instead, they make every single wrong decision. First of all, no books anywhere. No artwork over the mantle. That's absurd. That's where you put artwork. You don't leave a blank space there. I don't know what this is. You get rid of it. You get rid of this. You put bookcases on both these walls up to about here with plants above them. I don't know what this is. You get rid of that. This is all just completely wasted. Look at that row of little windows with nothing underneath them. It's just completely wasted. It's completely ruined space. Same thing with this. That is a lovely French window there, and it probably leads to a tiny little balcony, probably a balcony that you can't actually step out onto, but that just has a railing there so that you could lean on the railing with the doors open, get the full breeze, and look out at the day. But what? If you opened the French door to lean on the railing to look out at the full breadth of the day, and you had this room behind you, you'd throw yourself off. This is ruined in every way. Look at how horrible it is. And, I mean, even this thing, God. First thing that you should do when you buy this place, because the couple is not going to keep it. The first thing you should do is haul in a design team to just tear out everything. Tell them, get rid of it all. You can keep the marble over the fireplace, but get rid of everything else. All the furniture goes. Take it to the garbage dump and burn it. Get rid of everything. All the accents, everything, and we'll start over. We don't have to destroy the building structurally. This is what the building looks like. Structurally. It could be a miracle. Instead, look at that sofa. Good God. Good God. You put a sofa in there that is the color of spilled rosé, and that is nowhere. The sofa is just floating in the middle of the room. It's nowhere near the windows, so you can't enjoy them. It's not up against the wall, so you have to go around it to use the room. There's a little patio to the studio. Look what they put out there. What is that? Is that patio furniture? I don't know what that is. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's a huge eyesore. These things are just ugly. Look at the bathroom. Look what they did with the bathroom. That's the wallpaper. Oh, God. All right. Well, we're gonna calm down. We'll move to another property here because there was you see that is a lovely walk-in bath, a walk-in shower there. But this is the sort of thing I hate. Absolutely hate that. Look at the ugly artwork on the walls. Not just this, but that. Look at the ugly artwork on the walls. Look at the crappy 70s Art Deco cone lighting. If you have those things, you have already outed yourself as a pretentious git. So you don't get to put rustic, unfinished furniture in the middle of the room. It not only does it clash like crazy, but it's also a lie. It's a lie. You are not this type of person. Not if you have these monstrosities all over the place. You're not this type of person. So all you're doing is taking a little psychological exam in front of your guests. It's revolting. But here, let's move on. Because I thought one of these things was, oh yes, okay. One of these things shows a glimmer of hope. This is a multi-room apartment building way up above the street in Manhattan. It's another world. I've been in a lot of these apartments, and if you haven't been, you simply will not believe what's there. Some of them are unbelievable, and they're old, and you'd never guess when you're walking down the sidewalk heading to a Barnes and Noble on the Avenue of the Americas. You would never guess what's 20 or 30 stories over your head. And this is one of those. Was one of the most refreshing things in here. I think all of those books were bought in a job lot for what they look like. I don't think anyone ever uses them, and I don't think anyone's allowed to. But there is potential here. This could work. At least this couch is flush against the wall. This could work. You could make this space work. You'd have to redo quite a bit, but at least it isn't just vandalized. I mean, the bathroom, little bit much, but that bedroom has potential. There's potential there. It's not realized in any way, but it has potential. We go to the Texas Hill Country, exact same thing. This is, first of all, it's all right on ground level. Why on earth would you want that? But this has a pool and a sprawling house on 4 different levels and a servant's quarter house and whatnot, and there's no water. There's no water within 100 miles of this thing. It cannot possibly sustain itself. It's only meant to be ostentatious, and that if you want to get in this bathtub behind this museum piece wall, every single drop of water has to come from somewhere else. So it was, I believe that was it, right? Now, the last piece in here is also a big, loving look. Look at that. No books anywhere. These people just don't know that books exist. It's a long, loving piece to it. This is another thing that is set in the desert. These things are in the desert. There's no water. That would bother me. It really would. So that was latest House Beautiful. But we also have packages. So let's see what we have. This first one is really small. It could be a slim volume of poetry. Because usually the only thing that's this small from publishers is usually their catalog. Most publishers don't send out print catalogs anymore. Because they're so easy to do as an ebook. And if they do send them out, they just send them in the mail. They don't send them in a package. So what have we got? Oh no, this is... Okay, it is very slim, but it is a novel. This length, I don't know anything about this. We're going to read about it together, but I can guarantee you that this is pure autofiction. And that this is all the little daffodil of an author could bother to do. This thing is... what? 140 pages. Okay. So this is Western Lane by Chetna Maru. And this comes out in February. Let's see here. Delighted to share. Plimpton Prize winning. This it's a debut novel. Oh, that's great. Follows three sisters as, in the wake of their mother's death, they try to make sense of both their grief and their father's newfound obsession with training them in the game of squash. In the evenings, the family watches videos of the Pakistani world champion. Most days, they cycle to the local gym, Western Lane, to run drills and play. While their older sisters tolerate the regime Pa set out, 11-year-old Gopi gives herself to the sport. Her life becomes guided by its rhythms, the serve, the volley, the drive, the shot, and its echo. Slowly, she grows apart from her sisters, but on the court, she is not alone. She is with her Pa. She is with Ged, a 13-year-old boy with his own formidable talent. She is with the players who have come before her. She is in awe. Okay, the author's bio note said that she lives in London, and her stories have appeared in the Paris Review, the Stinging Fly, and the Dublin Review. And she won the 2022 Plimpton Prize for Fiction. Doesn't mention anything about her connection with squash. It doesn't mention anything like that. I could go to she maybe her acknowledgement section is in here, and that might say no, it's not. Her acknowledgement section is to come. We shall see. We shall see. If she wholesale invented all of this, I will applaud her. But I won't applaud her until next year. I won't, of course, be touching it until next year. So let's see what. Oh, this next one is 2 books. Very nice. What have we got here? Let's get you on the bottom there. So oh, great. Oh, wow. You know, this very seldom happens. Increasingly, publishers do not send me trade paperbacks of books. I get the electronic copy, I get the advanced copy, I get the finished hardcover in a lot of cases, unless it's Oxford University Press, but I tend not to get paperbacks. That's wonderful. This is A Natural History of the Future by Rob Dunn, which we saw on this channel. This is what the laws of biology tell us about the destiny of the human species. Only this is the finished copy with blurbs from Scientific American, Science, The Atlantic, New York Times. Great. Okay, so this is in your bookstores, I assume now. This is a $19 paperback. Our species has amassed unprecedented knowledge of nature, which we have tried to use to seize control of life and bend the planet to our will. In this book argues that such efforts are futile. We may see ourselves as life's overlords, but we are instead at its mercy. In the evolution of antibiotic resistance, the power of natural selection to create biodiversity, and even the surprising life of the London Underground, the author finds laws of life that no human activity can annul. I remember reading this and liking it, but I'm glad to have the finished paperback. I'll gladly give this a reread. What's this next one? It's bigger. Oh, fantastic. Great. Okay, this is the paperback. We saw this on this channel as well. This is the paperback of Adrian Goldsworthy's last book, Philip and Alexander, about Philip of Macedon and his son, Alexander the Great. Fantastic. So this is the finished copy of this. This is going to be $22. It's probably out already. Alexander the Great's conquest staggered the world. He led his army across thousands of miles, overthrowing the greatest empires of his time and building a new one in their place. He claimed to be the son of a god, but he was actually the son of Philip II of Macedon. Philip inherited a minor kingdom that was on the verge of dismemberment, but despite his youth and inexperience, he made Macedonia dominant throughout Greece. It was Philip who created the armies that Alexander led into war in Persia. In this book, Adrian Goldsworthy shows that without the work and influence of his father, Alexander could not have achieved so much. Fantastic. And this has blurbs from Barry Strauss. This has blurbs from the Wall Street Journal. I wonder if Open Letters is blurbed in here. Wouldn't that be nice? Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, the TLS, Victor Davis Hanson, Library Journal. Wow. Well, no Open Letters, but still very happy to have this. My copy of both of these, the review copy and the finished copy of both of these, long gone. So I'm very happy to have them. Great. Fantastic. I wish more publishers would do that. Now we'll move on to this next one. We do have a box to finish things up. This next one is a finished copy of something. Oh, great. Fantastic. This is a finished copy of a book that... This must be out already. Yes? Are you out already? No, it comes out on October 25th, but that's all right. We've already reviewed it on Open Letters Review. Micah Cummins wrote a review. This is the finished copy, which I suppose I should send to him. right? Since he wrote the review. This is the Ransomware Hunting Team. I think we saw this on this channel. This is the finished copy. A band of misfits in probable crusade to save the world from cybercrime. In this book, the authors team up to tell the story of the disastrous proliferation of ransomware attacks, kidnapping updated for the digital age, and a loosely aligned and far-flung group of private cybersecurity experts who've taken it upon themselves to fight back. Has it ever happened to you? Are you one of the millions and millions of people who's received so you turn on your laptop and suddenly nothing works, and there's a message saying if you want access to this machine, pay this much in Bitcoin or whatever. Combining fine-grained personal portraits of some of the most of these ransomware fighters with a broader history of ransomware, from its invention in 1989 by, of all people, a Harvard-trained primatologist, to recent high-profile attacks on everything from pipelines to primary schools. This book is a deeply reported work of journalism and an eye-opening expose of an urgent but little understood topic. Okay, well, this comes out in a couple of weeks, and I should send the finished copy to Micah if he wants it. Great, fantastic. The Ransomware Hunting Team. I only gave this a glance. I should probably read it before I send it out to Micah. Then we have the box here, hoping that it behaves itself. It's rather formidably sealed, but it doesn't seem like it's from one of you. It seems like it's from a publisher. Let's see what we have here. Heavy, whatever it is. Oh, okay. All right, great. We saw this already. Yes, we saw this already. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to show it to you again. We saw this already, and the reason I'm getting the finished copy here is because the sequel is coming out. This is James Rollin's book, The Starless Crown. It's his return to science fiction. I reviewed this, I believe, last year. If I remember correctly, I'll leave a link to Micah's review of the Ransomware Hunting Team and also my review of this. No pub sheet at all here, because I'm pretty sure this was probably sent from a warehouse to catch me up. Very grateful if that's the case, because I would want to give this a reread before I read the sequel. What have we got here? So, an alliance embarks on a dangerous journey to uncover the secrets of the distant past and save their world from this captivating visionary adventure. A gifted student foretells an apocalypse. Her reward is a sentence of death. Fleeing into the unknown, she is drawn to a team of outcasts. A broken soldier who once again takes up the weapons he's forbidden to wield and carves a trail back home. A drunken prince who steps out from his beloved brother's shadow and claims a purpose of his own. An imprisoned thief who escapes the crashing dark and discovers a gleaming artifact, one that will ignite a power struggle across the world. The artifact is alive too, so you'd think the cover, every single instance, every single little sentence description here is missing a fascinating detail that isn't a spoiler. On the run, hunted by enemies old and new, they must learn to trust each other in order to survive in a world evolved in strange, beautiful, and deadly ways, and uncover ancient secrets that hold the keys to their salvation. This was very good. I enjoyed it. I'll have to remember to leave a link to it. And the sequel is due. I don't have any information. This came from Warehouse, so nobody put a pub sheet in here. But I'm sure that we will be getting the sequel soon in an advance copy. So, The Starless Crown. This is probably out in paperback by now. They probably just grabbed the nearest thing that they had. Very much worth your time. So that was the mail. We have The Starless Crown. We have the Ransomware Hunting Team. Quite a few blasts from the past here. The Ransomware Hunting Team isn't out yet, but all the rest of these are. Philip and Alexander by Adrian Goldsworthy. A Natural History of the Future. And a slim debut novel for next year, Western Lane, about squash and sisterhood. That and these magazines that we got. So that's quite long enough for a video. Now that's the mail for today. We will try to keep the streak up with mail tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.